All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening with our Kabbalah studies. Now, this week we're going to do something from the morning lesson that we did on Sunday. Now, as you might know, some of you might know anyway, if you're studying with the tens, we're supposed to today, but we didn't get around to it. We'll soon start to study the 10 Sefirot. And when we're studying the 10 Sefirot, obviously what we have to do is prepare ourselves for the study. And lately we've been preparing for it in terms of intention. So why is it important to have the correct intention to the study? Okay, that's what we're going to study today. And hopefully we'll get that right. And that'll also prepare us for tomorrow morning lesson as well. And will give us a good idea about what the Kabbalists are talking about. As usual, if you have any questions, please shoot them through. If you're new to the YouTube channel and it's the first time you're watching something, or second, third time, you might want to go back and look at the first, second, third semester lessons so you know what the topic is all about. And if you're interested in studying the Wisdom of Kabbalah with like-minded people, you can always go to Kabbalah.info, and from there you can actually join the Kab Academy. And from there on, you can actually study with a group of people if you like. So let's start studying. And as usual, if you've got questions, just shoot them through. We'll all answer them together as we go through these excerpts. So intention before studying the 10 Sefirot, and these are selected excerpts from the sources. Rabash. Prior to learning Torah, a person should examine the reason for which he is learning Torah. For any act needs to have some purpose that causes him to do the act. It is as our sages said, a prayer without an aim is as a body without a soul. For this reason, before he comes to learn, he must prepare the intention. So here, when it's talking about Torah, it's obviously not talking about what regular people on the outside understand as Torah. Torah comes from the word hora and teorah. Hora means manual, like a user manual, and teorah means illumination, lighting. So anybody who studies the Wisdom of Kabbalah, he is actually attracting the light that reforms, the light that changes a person. He's getting, in other words, enlightened. Okay, and that's what the study is all about. So when we're studying, what we have to do initially, always actually, even before any study or reading, what we have to do is direct ourselves. What do I want from the study? Why is the study important for me? What do I want to extract from everything that we're learning? So clarifying for myself all the time why I'm studying and what I want out of the study is very, very important. That way a person can actually start to build in himself a desire to bestow. Another excerpt from Rabash's articles. Torah has the power to reform a person, referring to the evil within man, meaning the will to receive, that it will work in order to bestow. In this manner, he will have the likut and will be able to receive the real pleasures and will not be considered a receiver. Thus, through the Torah, it will be possible to sustain man in this world, for the Torah will reform him. So once again, the study allows us to attract the light that actually makes us see what's evil. So as we study the Wisdom of Kabbalah, we begin to understand what's bad inside of us. And if we really begin to see the evil inside of us, then we can actually want to stay away from it. We can want not to use it. So accordingly, the study should bring out a person consciousness, understanding, and the ability to see the truth about himself. Okay. Rabash, article number 12. We engage in the Torah in order to subdue the evil inclination. So this is the only reason we're studying, right? To subdue the evil inclination. Meaning to achieve adhesion with the Creator. So that all our actions will be only in order to bestow. That is, by ourselves, we will never be able to go against nature, since the mind and heart that we must acquire require assistance. And the assistance is through the Torah. Torah is obviously the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah, right? Like the user manual, that's what we're studying. It is as our sages said, I've created the evil inclination. I have created the Torah as a spice. And by engaging in it, the light in it reforms them. So this engagement is important. What does it mean to engage in the Torah? It means to engage in our correction. And that's what the wisdom of Kabbalah is. So Kabbalah, the wisdom of Kabbalah is known as the internality of the Torah. So that internality, this internality is accordingly, it's our internality actually. This internality of the Torah allows us to discover the spiritual worlds rather than this world, because normally when people talk about the Torah, they're talking about, I don't know, all kinds of whatever it means for them on the outside world. But Torah is the teaching. So the wisdom of Kabbalah for us, that is the teaching. So our Torah is the wisdom of Kabbalah. Okay. And by studying it, we're engaging in correcting our vision of the world. So the more we study, the more we build this proper approach to life, we can actually see things in a clearer way. Okay, we got any questions? Let's take a look. Okay. Let's see. No, we don't have it at the moment. So let's carry on reading. Okay. Rabash, article number 12. A person must make a great effort before he comes to learn, so that his learning will bear fruit and good results, meaning, so the learning will bring him the light of Torah, by which it will be possible to reform him. Then through the Torah, he becomes a wise disciple. What is a wise disciple? Baal Islam said that it is a student who learns from the wise. That is, the Creator is called the wise, and a person who learns from him is called a disciple of the wise. What should one learn from the Creator? He said that a person should learn only one thing from the Creator. It is known that the Creator wishes only to bestow. Likewise, man should learn from him to be a giver. This is called a wise disciple. So there's only one reason for us to study the wisdom of Kabbalah, and that is to be like the Creator, to actually bestow like the Creator, to turn our abilities of, to turn our nature of egoism into a nature of bestowal like the Creator, and to actually exist in his reality like he does. Okay. So until we reveal the Creator, it's all preparation period. So a person should actually, exactly like it says in the article, in the excerpt, that we should learn from the Creator himself. So our only aspiration, our full aspiration, should always be to really first reveal the Creator as best we can, and to really step on the gas trying to do that. And that's actually the most difficult thing in the wisdom of Kabbalah. That first initial spiritual level is the hardest. But once it's like being born, right? Once you're born, you just somehow you grow. So initially that birth is quite complicated, it takes time. So the whole process becomes um, a long, complicated process. But once a person is born, then that's it. That's just like, then he's taken care of in a more clearer way. So afterwards, the person's understanding becomes deeper and deeper. Okay. Let's carry on with excerpt number 6. One must try to remember the goal while studying Torah, so it will always be before his eyes. What he wants to receive from the study, that the study will impart greatness and importance of the Creator. Okay, so this is the only thing. As long as I'm always studying to increase the importance of the goal and making spirituality more important for me, then obviously I'm increasing my desire for the goal. And that is actually the whole thing. Because once I begin to increase my desire, then I can do more, I can progress more, I can actually begin to perceive more, I can discern more and more. Because at the end of the day, we're a desire to receive. So the more I'm growing my desire for spirituality, the more discernments, the more understandings I have about everything. Item number 7. During the study, we must always pay attention to the purpose of the study of Torah, meaning what we should demand from the study of the Torah. At that time, we are told that first we must ask for kelim, meaning to have vessels of bestowal, called equivalence of form, by which the restriction and concealment that were placed on the creatures are removed. To the extent that this is so, he begins to feel the holiness and begins to have a taste for the work of the Creator. At that time, he can be happy because holiness yields joy, for the light of doing good to his creations shines there. So once again, they constantly underlining the same situation. A person needs to clarify for himself or herself why they're studying. What do they want from the study? And only that, the intention, determines what you get out of the study. Okay. And if we study correctly, if we study with a desire to bestow, wanting to bestow, then that apparently brings joy to the Creator. It makes the Creator happy. Obviously, we don't know that. That's what the Kabbalists are telling us. However, hopefully, when we get to perceive the Creator, we'll be able to actually then, kind of feel it ourselves as well. But how, as we advance spiritually, that there is some kind of sensation called happiness, in reality, joy, which is felt in all of us as the joy of the Creator. Rabash, article number 12. It is beneficial to elicit the light from the Torah. If he aims while engaging in the Torah to learn in order to receive the reward of the Torah called light, at that time, the learning of Torah is good for him. But then he is distracted from the purpose of studying Torah, and Torah does not help complete the work of making the vessel of bestowal, and not using the vessels of reception for one's own sake. Otherwise, his Torah vanishes from him. That is, the force of Torah, and that should have subdued the evil inclination, is cancelled. This is the meaning of the words, any Torah with which there is no work, meaning when he does not aim for the Torah to do the work of turning the vessel of reception to work in order to bestow, is finally cancelled, meaning that that force is cancelled. Okay. So here's something to look out for. When he's distracted from the purpose of studying, then Torah does not help complete the work of making the vessels of bestowal and not using the vessels of reception for one's own sake. So during the study, I've got to really make an effort to stay on track. Okay, just to keep focus and keep working with the right intention, the best I can. Once I'm off the track with my intention, or my mind starts going all over the place, then obviously the study is not bringing me any benefit. So this is the most important thing in our study. There's a question on the internet, and let's see what we've got. Patricia's asking, is there more than one Talmud? Well, Talmud means study. Okay, so Talmud Sefirot is the study of the 10 Sefirot. So there are a lot of books called Talmud, the study. There are also a few books called Talmud as well, the Babylonian Talmud, and there's also the regular Talmud. So Talmud is also a book. It's quite a big book with a lot of volumes. But generally Talmud means the study, and Talmid means student. So Talmud Sefirot means the study of the 10 Sefirot. Okay? Don't get it confused with the name of other books, because what's important for us here is, like, even though, even here he says Torah all the time, Torah, 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 but what he's actually talking about is the wisdom of Kabbalah. Obviously in those days he couldn't say, oh, you got to study Kabbalah, and simply because in the environment that he was living in, Rabash couldn't write it so openly, telling people that Torah means the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah. That's the most important thing. So all of these words, we need to really kind of put them on the right track. So don't get confused with the word Torah as well. It's not talking about the Torah, the book, the 5 books of Moses, or the Pentateuch. It's talking about the method of studying internality, which is the wisdom of Kabbalah. Early Kabbalists were very restricted in terms of their environment. So they couldn't really, express themselves fully openly. So all Kabbalistic texts from the past were all kind of like written in a concealed way. It was never direct and straightforward for the person to, just be, and the reason for that is most of the time, not most of the time, all the time, actually, a Kabbalah student always learned from his Rav, from his teacher. So it was always like teacher to student. So the teacher would always explain what everything means. So they have this way of writing everything. And so in the article, even here from the 1980s, these articles are from 1980s, from that period. And there he's also constantly saying Torah and so on. But what he's talking about here is the methodology, and that's the wisdom of Kabbalah. Introduction to the study of the 10 Sefirot, item number 18 from Baal Salam. The creator who created it and gave the evil inclination its strength evidently knew to create the remedy and the spice liable to wear off the power of the evil inclination and eradicate it altogether. And if one practices Torah and fails to remove the evil inclination from himself, it is either that he has been negligent in giving the necessary labor and exertion in the practice of Torah, as it is written, I did not labor and found, do not believe, or perhaps he did not put in the necessary amount of labor, but has been negligent in the quality. This means that while practicing Torah, they did not set their minds and hearts to draw the light in the Torah, which brings faith to one's heart. Rather, they've been absent-minded about the principal requirement demanded of the Torah, namely the light that yields faith. And although they initially aimed for it, their minds went astray during the study. Okay, so that's quite good, actually. Let's read that again. Okay, let's read that again. Introduction to the study of the 10 Sefirot, number 18. The Creator who created it and gave the evil inclination its strength evidently knew to create the remedy and the spice liable to wear off the power of the evil inclination and eradicate it altogether. And if one practices Torah and fails to remove the evil inclination from himself, it is either that he has been negligent in giving the necessary labor and exertion in the practice of Torah. As it is written, I did not labor and found, do not believe. Or perhaps he did not put in the necessary amount of labor, but has been negligent in the quality. This means that while practicing the Torah, they did not set their minds and hearts to draw the light to draw the light in the Torah, which brings faith to one's heart. Rather, they have been absent-minded about the principal requirement demanded of the Torah, namely the light that yields faith. And although they initially aimed for it, their minds went astray during the study. Okay, so there you go, how important it is to maintain the intention throughout the study. And not to just think of this like something light, like, okay, I know what I'm studying for, and to study. My mind and my heart should always be around this topic, why I'm studying, what do I want from the study, and so on. Okay. Mohammed's asking, what are the practices of Torah? Well, there's only one rule in the Torah, actually, even though, well, also depends what you're talking about when you say Torah. Torah means Torah and Teorah, a user manual and light, illumination. So Torah is actually a methodology, a method of using the manual in order to be enlightened. That's what the Torah is. So Torah for us is the method. It's not a book, it's the method. And that method, since from the days of Adam and Abraham, from thousands of years ago, before the Torah was written, is the wisdom of Kabbalah. And there's only one rule in the Torah, actually, in the method. And that is to love other people like you love yourself. So that is what a person needs to achieve. And the study should bring him to there. To practice Torah, therefore, means that I'm practicing the love of others. That is called the practice of Torah. Issachar is asking, is practicing the Torah becoming more in connection within the sensations? Absolutely. The more we are connected, then more we have, the more perception we have, a greater understanding in our feelings. Obviously, when I'm talking about understanding, I'm not talking about an intellectual process. You can only understand something if you feel something, right? So spirituality is an understanding that comes through feeling. This is why it's called the wisdom of the heart, because heart is our desires, and that's where we feel everything, we live everything. So we are sensual beings. So first we have to feel, and then we can then make sense, at least try to make sense of what we feel. So practicing the wisdom of Kabbalah, which he calls Torah here, is more and more getting connected with other people in the attributes of love and bestowal. Okay, let's read a little bit more. If a person, this is item number 10, by the way, if you're reading it, if a person is rewarded and is given a thought of engaging in the secrets of Torah, although he does not understand a single word that is written there, it is still a great privilege that now he is adhered to the study of the internality of the Torah. In other words, he believes that they speak only about godliness, and he has room to delve into his thought. Since everything I'm learning is of the holy names, so I must be very fortunate. Therefore, all I need to do is thank and praise the Creator. Let's do that once again. If a person is rewarded and is given a thought of engaging in the secrets of the Torah, so this is actually the dot in the heart, right? If our dot in the heart awakens and we are wondering about the meaning of life and we're searching and we're constantly, looking where we can find answers to our questions, that's actually a reward on its own. And then the person comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah, he comes to the study. And once he starts studying, then he should feel that this is some kind of a privilege because he's finding answers to the questions he had about his life, or she had. In other words, he believes that they speak only about godliness, and he has room to delve into his thought, since everything I'm learning is of the holy names. So I must be very fortunate. Therefore, all I need to do is thank and praise the Creator. All right, so basically all they're talking about here as we were reading these is how I need to relate to the study from within. What I want from the study, what I need to get from the study. So this is the most important thing. I should be constantly thinking about it. I should constantly be evaluating myself on what I'm doing here. Why am I studying this? What do I want to get from this? What's the important thing that I need to attain, achieve? And the reason we constantly need to do it is because a person is constantly changing. So I can't say to myself, well, I'm just going to think about it once and just, move forward. No, that's not the way to do it, because we change all the time. I need to now, from a changed perspective, from my new state, I have to start thinking about kind of making my intention, my direction sharper. Item number 11. Okay. The meaning of Torah and work is that he learns Torah in order for the Torah to bring him the light of Torah. By this, he will be able to invert the vessels of reception to work in order to bestow. And with these kelim, he will be rewarded with adhesion with the Creator, called learning Torah for the sake of the Creator. So once again, Torah is the wisdom of Kabbalah, internality of the Torah. That's what we're talking about. And the only thing we need to direct ourselves towards is attaining the vessels, the desire to bestow, so that we can reach adhesion with the Creator, because of the law in nature of equivalence of form. Only if something has an equivalence of form with something else can they perceive each other or feel each other. Like, same thing when we perceive reality with our five senses. Everything needs to be according to I don't know, if I hear something, it needs to be within a frequency range. Okay, so something higher, something lower, I can't perceive it. So here as well, all the time, what we want to do is to make sure that we're constantly directing ourselves towards what we want from the study, how we want to bestow, why we want to bestow, just constantly growing that desire to bestow. Okay, let's take a look. This is now item number 12. Now pay attention and know that all the commandments that are written in the Torah or have been accepted, which the forefathers had established, although most of them are by actions or with the mouth, they are all in order to correct the heart. For the Creator wants all the hearts and understands every inclination of the thoughts. So everything we're doing is just to to really bring ourselves out of the egoism. That's what it's called, to purify the heart, to correct the heart, and make out of ourselves a bestowing and a loving creature. So we want to get something completely opposite to our current nature. So we want to build on top of the egoism and our selfishness this desire to bestow. If we have a desire to bestow, a genuine one, a real desire to bestow, then we can live on top of the sensation of our egoism, which is the desire to receive for oneself. And we can then obviously feel the Creator. If I fall back into the desire to receive, which happens as we go higher in spirituality, we always face up and down motions, and we fall back into the egoism, obviously at a different level. So it has a completely different meaning for us at that level, at that new level. However, those fallings and getting up and rising again, falling again, rising again, and so forth, all of these things, this up and down motion of discovering the evil and then building the good on top of it, and then discovering some other bad thing and then putting the good on top of that again. This whole process of in and out and in and out and in and out starts to build inside of us that sensation of being corrected, of changing our hearts, changing our nature. Item number 13. It is our inability to do anything for the sake of the Creator. Only the light of the Torah will correct the heart, for the heart is called desire. And by nature, it is a desire only to receive. But how can a person go against nature? And this is why the Creator said, I've created the evil inclination. I have created the Torah as a spice. It follows that he's not learning Torah for the intellect to understand, but he's learning in order to understand, so as to achieve dvekut with the Creator, who is clothed in the Torah. And this pertains to the heart. Through the light, he will receive it. Through the light, let me read it again. Through the light, he will receive, it reforms him. Through the light, he will receive the light that reforms him. That's what it means. Meaning that the will to receive for his own sake can receive strength from above that enables it to work for the sake of the Creator. So this is once again an important thing that we need to underline. As we study, we begin to understand that we can't change ourselves. We have no capacity to change anything about ourselves. We didn't create ourselves. The Creator created us, and it is upon Him to change us. So the study should bring me to just want to change. And that's the important thing. So that I can want to change, so that I don't want to remain in this state. Item number 14. Feeling the vitality in the Torah requires great preparation to prepare his body to be able to feel the life in the Torah. This is why our sages said we must begin in Lo Lishma. and through the light of Torah he obtains while still in Lolishma. It will bring him to Lishma, since the light in it reforms him. When he will be able to learn Lishma, learning for the sake of the Torah, which is called Torah, the law of life, as he has already attained the life in the Torah. For the light in the Torah will have given such qualifications to a person as to be able to feel the life that is in the Torah. Okay, so in order for us to, because we're doing this work against our nature, right? Working against our nature is not easy because we're egoists. We want things, and to constantly go against our nature is requires quite a lot of effort. We're burning a lot of calories there. So in order to feel that vitality, we need to really contemplate and make sure that this is really important for us. Only if something is really important can we make effort, can we find pleasure in making effort as well. So this whole process of learning and studying the Torah, it needs to bring us some kind of energy, some kind of boost, vitality. Otherwise, the person will just fall off. So keeping this routine and trying to get some kind of happiness, joy, fulfillment out of it is very, very important. Because only then I'm actually able to, have this pushing force. Only then I'm able to kind of fill up my gas tanks and start, rolling. And if I keep doing that, just keep pushing, there comes a point where you just go beyond the tipping point, and that's when things begin to open up to a person. So that whole process of studying while we're still not in spirituality is called Lolishma, which is studying for the sake of myself, my benefit. And that's how a person should begin to study. That's fine. So as he studies more and more, and he's really focusing on the intention, what he wants, how he wants to bring everything together, what he wants to attain, where he wants to go with the study, and as he's constantly working on the intention as well, then there comes a time when his work fills a certain quota in terms of amount and quality, in quantity and quality. And once that happens, then the person can come to that state of called life, which is for the sake of the Creator, which is bestowal and love. Okay. So a question from Forbella. Mutlu, what's the difference between the Kli and the Klipot? Well, the desire to receive is not going to change. The Klipot is the evil inclination, and that's the intention to receive for myself. So the desire is not the bad thing. How I want to use my desire for my selfish purposes, that's the Klipot. Okay, so the Kli is a vessel, is a desire, and the Klipot is the desire to receive for myself when I'm using the desire for my personal benefit and I'm disregarding others. We've got to remember there are only 3 points here that we need to work with, right? There's the Creator and there's the created being. And what's in between is the intention. And the intention is what we need to fix up. That's the only thing we need to change. So when we're talking about correcting the desire to receive, we're just talking about the intention, because we're always going to be a desire to receive. That's not going to change. What's going to change is the intention pertaining to that desire to receive. Okay. So let's read. All right. So let's read one more excerpt and call it a day. Item number 15. Even while learning Torah for the sake of learning Torah, he should still distinguish with which intention he is learning. Is it to observe the commandments of the Creator, as it is written, and you shall reflect on him day and night? Or is it he learning in order to receive the light of the Torah, because he needs the light of Torah in order to cancel the evil within him, as our sages said? I have created the evil inclination, and I've created the Torah as a spice. It turns out that he is learning in order to obtain the spice, as our sages said, the light in it reforms. So this is once again very important. We must not make out of our spiritual study some kind of an intellectual stimulation or intellectual exercise. Studying spirituality, and when I say spirituality, I'm talking about the wisdom of Kabbalah, right? When I'm talking about the wisdom of Kabbalah, I'm talking about studying the authentic methods with the right intention. So studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, which is Torah, I'm constantly studying in order to purify myself, in order to correct myself. Then that is the right approach. And that approach will have an impact. And this is actually what the whole writings are all about, that we are initially created bad by the Creator. However, we can, through this sensation of bad, through understanding that our egoism is bad for us, we can want to change for the better. And that's the whole trick. So a person's study should first bring him the recognition of evil, how bad our nature is. And we can see it in the world as well. We're going to see a constantly worsening world all the time. So that humanity is, really going to have to come to an understanding that we can't live like this. This is crazy. Okay? So once that's all settles down inside a person, then a person can want to change. And from that evil, he or she can begin to build the opposite, which is the good. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that was the last question from Flobella. All right, guys, let's call it a day. We did a 45-minute lesson. It's a little slightly shorter than what we normally do, but let's call it an evening, and hopefully we'll start to study the Talmud or Sifrot when Rav feels it's the right time. And then we'll have better discernments then as well. In the interim, have a great evening, and God willing, I'll see you guys next week. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.